and it was provided by the Angular framework. Now, where this service is available, just give me a minute, please. I got a call. Sorry, guys. Okay. Now you can see we have the HTTP client which is available in RxJS. Now, what is the main purpose of it? Generally, like what it will do, and what is the main purpose of the RxJS here? When I say about, let's say, RxJS library here, it is used to connect with server application and perform the CRUD operations. Practically speaking, the purpose of the RxJS is what? It is used to connect with the server application and perform the CRUD operations. Now, the practical scenario of the application development is generally in real time, we have the database. Let's say this is going to be a database that we are having. Now you can see this is how an application. Generally, the front end, like whatever we are having, either it is going to be an Angular or it might be the UI, that is the HTML, will never able to communicate with the real world databases directly. Understood? That means the direct interaction between the front end application to the back end, which is not going to be possible. Understand? So this is not going to be happen in practical. Why it is not going to be happen? Because like front end is a completely lightweight programming which never able to communicating with the relational database. Okay, which relational database? That means directly communicate. If that is the case, what we can do? We have to build. I mean, as you are not going to build any server application, but generally speaking, we supposed to build a server application, and that server application will communicating with the database, and then it prepares the data and it gives the data in this particular format. Now, if you can see, we have connected with the fake store API and then click on OK. Now we are able to see like all the product data here, right? Yes or no? Now what happened here? The server application will connect with the database and get the data, and that data is going to be prepared and giving that in the JSON format. It's purely JSON format, do remember. If it contains like any of the data, other data, then it won't possible. So it should be always in the JSON formatted data it prepares. Now this JSON data will be getting from the server application to the Angular application by using a service. That is what we call it as a RX. I mean, that is what we call it as a HTTP client is the service. Now, what is a HTTP client? HTTP client, which is an interaction. It is a service. It is a inbuilt service created by the Angular framework. What it will do? It will use it to provide the interaction between the Angular application and the server side application that we are having. Understood what I am saying? Yes or no? Tell me. Now, what is HTTP client here? HTTP client is a inbuilt service. It's a predefined service. It's a predefined service. What it will do? It provides the interaction between the Angular application and any of the server side application. Shrikant, that means if I learn like HTTP client here, am I able to connect with the .NET based application? Yes, you can. Java based application? Yes, you can. PHP based application? Yes, you can. Python based application? Yes, you can. That means any application, whenever if you wanted to connect, there you can go with a concept of what? RxJS. RxJS, the main purpose is that only. Understand? The HTTP client. Now here, So far, I'm not using HTTP client. If you can remember, so far, like, previous, I guess like 1 month back, we started around 1 month back, and we are able to fetch the data from Fake Store API, because this is also a real world API only, right? Do you know like whom it was developed? We don't have any idea. What we are doing as an Angular developer, we're supposed to get the data by connecting with this server by using a method. That is what we call it as. That is what we call it as. Which method we have used? Tell me. Which method we have used? Very good. Which method we have used? Fetch method we have used these many days, right? I use the fetch method. By using the fetch method, I am able to fetch the data. Now, you may get a question, Srikanth, what is that advantage that I am getting it, fetching the data with the help of fetch method and then getting the data with the help of HTTP client? Because this is going to be one of the very important interview question in practical. That means what is that? Because like fetch is also used to fetch the data. What is the difference between fetch method and also HTTP client service? What is the difference between these two? One of the very, very, very important one. Now, what is the difference? The first difference is going to be, I'll be writing here, first fetch I can use. Okay, I'll be using the fetch here. And at the same time, I'm going to use a HTTP client, I can say. I'm going to use a HTTP client, I can say. Now, when it comes to the fetch is going to be, okay, returns the data in binary format. It returns data in binary format. That is the reason where, if you could remember, whenever we fetch the data, after that, we are converting into the JSON format, right? Did you remember? Whenever we are fetching the data, as the first step, once we get the response, I'm converting that into the JSON format by using .json method, right? Because the fetch method will return the data in the form of binary. And binary data is not able to applicable or not able to integrate with any of the front-end application. That is the reason where I convert it into the JSON by using .json method. That is the first difference. Then if that is the case, HTTP client, what type of data it is returning? It returns in JSON format. It written in the JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, where it contains the data in the form of key and value pair combination, and which is compatible with any of the JavaScript library. Again, I'm repeating, JSON stands for what? JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, JSON stands for what? JSON stands for what? I can say HTTP client will maintain the data in JSON format where JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. That what I can say. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, which is a complete or else fully compatible format data for client-side technologies. That means any client-side technology can understand the data if it is available in the JSON format. So that is the reason whenever if you are going to use HTTP client to interact with the server, it gives you the data purely in the form of what? JSON format. It gives you the data in the form of what? JSON. Understood. And here, as it returns the data in the binary format, we have to convert the data into the JSON format or not? Tell me. Yes or no? Hello? Yes or no? Tell me. Hello, hello, hello. Am I audible? Ah, very good. So that means parsing is required. Parsing is required here. Parsing is parsing is required here. That means we must have to parse the data. We must have to parse the data. Guys, please switch off your videos. I know that that is intentional. If I see like any video, like if it is repeated, I'll stop the session. I'll stop my session. I'm seriously telling you. Okay. Right. Whenever if you can go with like, the fetch method, then parsing is required. Whenever if it is going to be a HTTP client, then it is required. It is required to format the data. That means it is required to format the data. That is one thing you should remember. No, no, Sudhamani, like you just say without converting into the JSON so that you will come to know. Okay, try without you, then you will understand. Okay, just try that so that you will understand. Okay, now, right. And the next one is going to be, what is the third difference we are having here? Third difference is going to be fetch is not a type safe. That means if you suppose, let's say, I'm getting the data in a particular format. At the time of reading also, after reading, I can assign like, a proper data type. That's okay. That's a different story. But at the time of reading the data, I cannot specify the fetch has to read only a particular data. It is not possible. That means I can't specify to read only a particular. Both the data is available in one response, but I have a requirement. I want to read only the student data, or else I want only an employee data. If that is your scenario, then fetch is not going to be helpful. But when it comes to HTTP client, it is a complete type safe. Understand? It is a type safe. That means whatever the type of the data we are wanted to read, that you can specify at the time of reading. That is how it is going to be. And then the next thing is going to be poor in exception handling. Okay, that means we don't have like, good exception handling mechanism, which will be available here. But here, good in exception handling, that what I can say, good in exception handling. You can get exactly what happened, what would be that error, and everything. And the last one is going to be it is synchronous. And the next one is going to be RxJS library completely. It is asynchronous. Okay, the first one is going to be synchronous, and the second one is going to be asynchronous that we are having. Now, what is meant by synchronous request and asynchronous request? Tell me. Tell me anyone. What is meant by synchronous and what is meant by asynchronous? Suppose let's say I have a page. Okay, I have a page. I mean, let's take a simple example here. Angular application I'm having. My application will be okay. My application. Otherwise, let's say this is like, the backend application, and I'm having the front end application, something like this. Just assume that this is going to be my backend application and this is going to be my front end application. So when you open this one, you can see when you open, let's say, Flipkart or any application, I open like, let's say, Flipkart or any application, you are able to see the data from different APIs, right? Yes or no? Different API in the sense, the data, whatever you people are seeing here, is it completely from a same cell or or it is from different sellers? Tell me. Different sellers only, right? Yes or no? Because electronics is maintained by a different seller, furniture is maintained by different, appliances is maintained by different, travel is maintained by different. Like that, we have different seller who are selling that items in the Flipkart. If that is the case, whenever if I load my home page, it needs to send all the requests to the server and need to get the response, right? That means multiple calls at a time whenever we are making, multiple calls whenever if we are making from front end to the back end, front end to the back end, what happen, what happen, if it is going to be a synchronous request at a time, it is capable of sending one request and only one response. Again, second request, second response. Third request, third response. That means until unless we are getting the response for the request, then the next request will not be processed. Understood what I am saying? Until unless the request is completely handled and gives the response, then there is no new request will happen if it is a synchronous request. Synchronous, what happens? Synchronous means what? Synchronous means one request. Okay, one request is the response given. And once if it is done, then again what happens? Second request, okay, second request, and then we will be getting what? The response to also. That means the same time what we are having, we have the response. That means one by one, the city is doesn't matter that how, okay, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all. It is processing like whatever the resource is free and give those many responses at a time, or else like parallelly also. Now here, when I say about fetch is completely a synchronous model. That means to that particular server, we can make only one call. If you wanted to send multiple calls, then it won't allow you. But HTTP client is going to be an asynchronous that we are having. Understood? Clear now? And the next one and the last one here, the difference is going to be, it is from base JavaScript. Okay, it is from the base JavaScript framework, and it was available, or else let's say it is available in a library that is RxJS. Now, what is meant by RxJS here? RxJS stands for reactive extension for JavaScript, I can say. JavaScript, I can say. It is nothing but what? It is a reactive extension for JavaScript. Clear now? These are the differences. Very, very important interview question. Now the next one, how to work with RxJS HTTP client service. What are the steps needs to follow? I'll give you like one by one step. You should have to follow the same step. First one is going to be import the library. First one is going to be import the library. Now what library has to be imported? I am going to write something like import. What I wanted to import here, HTTP client has to be imported, and where it is available under @Angular / we have common / HTTP is the library. That means wherever you wanted to use the HTTP client class, first you have to import that library. That is the first one. Step number 2 is going to be, what is step number 2 here? Inject the Okay, or else let's say include the HTTP client module in app module. That is also important, guys. Because like if you could remember, I used an ng model, right? I used an ng model or not? I mean, whenever if you are using ng model, I included the forms module, right? Did you remember? Right? I included the forms module. In the same way, whenever if you people are using HTTP client, we must have to include what HTTP client module. That means we need to write in that app module an import statement that is going to be HTTP client module, from where it is going to be. It is available under the same library @angular / common / HTTP has to be given, and at the same time the library has to be included under the module section. Okay, the library has to be included under the module section. That means if you can use like any module, and there you can use it. And then step number 3. What is step number 3 here? Inject the HTTP client service in any of the component or service. That means wherever you have used, it doesn't matter, because in Angular everything is going to be class only, right? Yes or no? So far, if you can see, we created a component is a class. We created directive is a class. We created pipe, we created, that is a class. Module we have seen, that is a class. Just now service also we have seen in day before the example, and that is also a class. That means wherever you wanted to use the HTTP client service, there you can inject. So how I can inject it? By using what? Constructor. Simply I use a constructor. I'll create a member. You can write with any name, and here it is going to be HTTP client. That's what I can say. This is what the dependency is. Inject it. And then step number 4 is going to be access the HTTP methods. Mostly this is going to be HTTP. Generally we give the name like this. Okay. And what is step number 4? Access the HTTP. Okay. Client class. HTTP client class methods. What are methods it comes? Here we have different methods are available. What are the methods we are having? I can say that this dot HTTP dot, we have the get method where you can write here. And at the same time, this dot HTTP dot post method is available. And then this dot HTTP dot, we have put method is available. And at the same time, this dot HTTP dot, we have delete method is available. Like that, we have different methods are available, which are going to be helpful whenever we are going to perform the HTTP client calls. Understood? So these are the series of steps that has to be done. Now I'm going to show you how we are going to work on it by taking a simple example. And then I will show you the complex example as well. Okay. Okay. We'll start with a new example. Let me go to my D drive. There we have the full stack Angular. There we have the Angular example. And there we have that Angular example. Let me open my command prompt, and where I can go with the code space dot I can say. Okay. Code space dot I can say. I'm going to close all, and let us come back to here. Now I'm using service demo only, the same project I used, service demo, where it is. Here it is going. Now what I want to do, I'm going to connect with the fake store API only, nothing apart from that. So before that, what I can do is to get contract class. Maybe am I created here? No, I haven't created here. I guess I have created event binding. I guess in event binding, I created the contract class where it is going to know events, mouse event. But I created a contract class, right? Just give me a minute. Anyhow, but because I don't want to recreate it, maybe I created here. Let's go to that SRC app folder. Product info is the contract class I guess I have created. Let us open that with the help of Notepad so that it would be okay. Maybe I can open with the VS Code. So this is how an interface is going to be. Now what I just want to do is I'm going to create like a new class here under that SRC folder, under that app folder, right click and new file that is going to be product info.ts I can say and paste it here. Okay. A simple contract that what I have used. And now I'm going to connect with the service that is fake store product service and get the data whatever it is giving it to. For that reason, I'll create a new service first of all. So how to create the service? Tell me. How to create the service? Tell me. How to create the service? What is the command? I already told you. Very good. We'll be using ng, G for generate, S for service, and the name of the service is going to be, let's say, I'm going to give the name of the service that is fake store is the service name hyphen skip hyphen test I can say. Now when I use okay, ignore this warning message as I already told you, ignore these ones. Now you can see we have like the latest one. It was created. Now this is how it is going to be fake store dot service that we are having. Now follow the steps that what I told you. What is the step number 1 here? What is the step number 1? Import the library. Which library? HTTP client library. Where it is available? @Angular / common / HTTP is the one that we are having. Now what is it available, Shrikant? Yes, it is available. If you want, you can see. I'll go to my package.json where you can find that particular library. Okay, RxJS library, definitely you can find it. You can see. Am I having that RxJS here or not? Tell me. Yes or no? Hello. So that means it's a predefined one. You need not to install it separately. From Angular, I guess 7 or 8 onwards, it is like the required library that needs to be presented over there. That means we should have this library compulsory. So that what I can do, I'm going to import that. Let's say I'm importing what I just wanted to import. HTTP client has to be imported from where it is available @Angular / common / we have HTTP is available. There you can import it. Understood? That is the first one. Now the second one is going to be, once if it is getting imported, the second one is going to be injected. And before that, if you can see, as I'm having HTTP client module, suppose if I create a private HTTP colon HTTP. One second, please. Private HTTP, and here I can use the HTTP client. Suppose if I'll be using the HTTP client here, and whenever if you can use it, then if you can run that application, it produces you an error. So that is the reason where what you supposed to do, you have to include, you have to include what module? HTTP client module here under that import section. Now what I can do? HTTP client module has to be imported. Okay. One time if you can import, then that should be fine, because like modules are common for all the component. That is the reason where one time if you can do, then that should be fine. Now what I am doing, I'm importing that particular one to here. Understood? Clear now? So, and what is the next step? You can see what is the next step. These two are done and I have injected. These two steps, that's up to you. One you can write before, one you can write after. That's up to you. Now, what I want to do, the next step is going to be, we have to write a method, and that method will return the list of products. So how I can do that one? I'm going to write a service is a reusable class which contains the methods. Now what I can do, I'm writing get the products that what I can use. Understood? I'm going to use what? Get the products I'm using. And here it gives the data of what type of data the products are going to be. I created a contract class or not? Yes or no? Tell me. Yes or no? Tell me. Hello? That means by connecting to the server, I'm observing what type of data here. I'm observing a product info type data that what I am getting. So that is the reason where I used a new keyword or else new operator. That is what we call it as observable. I will tell you like what exactly that observable is. And observable, now what type of data I'm observing here? I'm observing the product info data. I'm observing a product info data, and where I can get like, the multiple here. That's it. Product info that what I can give. Understand? Now what type of data? You can see there. Here I'm giving the type safety. I need to get only the data of what type? It's a product info array type. If it is anything rather than that, then I don't want to allow the data. That is where I have written something else. So if a method is having a return type as the data type, we must and should include the return statement at the end, right? Yes or no? We must have to include the return statement at the end. It is must to have. So that what I can do, I'm using the return statement here, return this dot, I'm using HTTP dot, I'm using, you can see, delete, get, head, post, blah, blah, blah. What we are having, 90% we go with get and post, 90. Remaining 5% or 10%, we go with the delete, patch, and then put. These five are important. Remaining, like, I even never used in my career so far. We have like, many things, but whatever is required, that much if you can learn, that's fine. I will show you like how we can use get the post to put to delete to patch. These five, we go with 98%. If remaining 2%, if you can get, then you can learn yourself, and you are the one luckiest guy. Okay, if you can get the remaining. Most of the time, we go with this one. Okay, right. Now what I can do, I'll go with my get request. And here in the get, now what it is asking me? It is asking me the data in which format? URL of type of string. So that what I can do, I'm going to give that particular one. So that I can give, I'll copy this one and then giving it over there. It's a string format so that I can give. Now you can see, again, still we have an error. What is that error? You can see the get method will return the data observable of object type. Understand? You can see we have the data. Now it is returning what? Get is by default returning what? Observable of object. It is returning observable of object. I'll tell you observable is not a term. That is where I'm telling you. Don't worry about it. Observable, why I used observable. And again, we are using subscriber also. I will tell you like how to subscribe and all. That will be explained it in tomorrow's session. Okay. Don't need to worry. But just today's session, it's all about how we can make a call. That's it. Now you can see this get method by default is returning observable of object. But what type we are expecting here? Observable of product info type, right? Am I right? Tell me. Observable of product info type. So that here also at the time of getting, you have to specify a product info type. Once you can give that, then only it will fetch the data. Now it's clear now. Whatever the type we specify, we will be getting the data only of that particular type. If you can get like any other type, then it won't allows you. That is how we are able to get a type safety over here. Understood? Type safety. Don't worry. Don't worry. I know that what is observable, everybody is having it out. I'll explain you that in the next session. Now, this is the data that what I'm having. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to, let's say, I'm going to create a component, NGGC, and then let's say product component I'll be using, products component, hyphen skip, hyphen test that what I can say. Okay, we get an error. So that I'll be using the command from here screen. Again, I'm writing NGGC for the component because service will never directly display the data in the UI. We should have a component so that NGGC, C for the component, and then the next step is going to be, let's say, products component hyphen skip hyphen test that what I can give. Right? Now you can see products component is available. Now where we have the data, tell me where the data is available. Is available, guys. Tell me. It's available in service. Service will connect with the real world service and get the data. What type of data? Product info data. By calling this method, we are able to get. Now what I can do, I'll go to my TS file. And now I wanted to get this service to the component. How do I get the service to the component? Tell me. Again, we use what? Constructor. And how do I use it? Simply, let's say private service. Create an object of the service. Now, what service it is going to be? Fake store service I have created. Understood? That means whenever if you people have created a service, or else if it is going to be a inbuilt service, we must have to inject with the help of constructor. Now I used a constructor here in order to inject this service. Now what I can do, create a variable, something like this, public products, which are of type product info that what I can give. And initially I'm giving it as an empty. Now what I can do, I used on init method, on init that what I can use, on init. What this on init will do, which will be executed very first, right? Yes or no? Which will be executed very first. So that what I can do, I'm going to get the data and store it over there. So how I can do that? Service dot, we have get products. Now you can see when I call this, is it able to get the data? If you want, you can see, maybe let's say I'll be using console.log I can use. Now I am going to store it. Now you can see, I'll run my application, app products that what I can use. Let's see, app products that what I can use. And at the same time, I'm going to use the products component as my startup so that I can save it. and now you can run it. Let's say ngs -o hyphen project is equal to, let's say, service demo. When I right click and go to the console, you can see in the console window, we have what? Unexpected token P product works is not a valid JSON. That means we are getting the data, but it is not it showing as a valid JSON. Okay, valid JSON. Now, why it is going to be a valid JSON? Because here I'm getting the data in the form of observable, so that it has to be subscribed here. Now, how I can do that? How I can do that? This dot service dot get product dot. We have a method that is subscribe. Now, what I can do? I'm going to subscribe the data and stored it into the products over there. This dot products is equal to whatever the response I'm getting, I'm going to giving it over there. Now here there is a new one that is subscribe. Now this time you can see when I go to my application execution, if you can just refresh it once again, now you can see what happened. Unexpected token P product works. It's not the valid JSON. Okay. I'm sorry here. Maybe what I can, oh, I'm sorry. I'm removing this one and this one also. Now what I can do, I'm going to display the, వాళ్ళు మళ్ళా బ్యాటరీ పోయిందంటారు, నేను వస్తాను. Let's say what I can do, I'm going to display that with the help of console.log here. I'm using this dot products, that what I can say, and save it over there. And then let's come back to here. Now you can see that when I execute this one, why it is not getting unexpected token P product work is not a valid JSON. Strange. JSON I can give. Items. Okay, we have
Recording
let's
in
do
progress.
one thing. Stop it for the day. I'll continue this tomorrow. Maybe it takes time. I have another call to jump. I'll upload this. You may try this.